Hi everybody, happy Monday. I'm Amy Astley, Editor-in-Chief of Architectural Digest, and welcome to episode 13 of AD Visits. I am coming to you live from my house where I have been in quarantine since March. And, just as a reminder, the whole series AD Visits is filmed by our creative talent themselves at home. Whether they self-film or someone in their family films, it has been a little silver lining of COVID to find ways to continue to be creative and share our world with all of you via the generosity of all of these people. Today's house tour is with my friend Athena Calderon. Athena is a chef, she is an author, she has written design books, cookbooks, she is an interior designer, she is a woman of great taste and many talents. And today she gives us a really special, wonderful treat of her townhouse in Brooklyn. And I say it has the kitchen that launched 1 million Pinterest boards. It's a really special way to see the inside of this gorgeous family house that she's so lovingly created. So please enjoy our tour with Athena Calderon today of her fabulous Brooklyn townhouse. Hi, I'm Athena Calderon, and I want to welcome you into my Brooklyn townhouse. The style of this townhouse is Greek Revival, and it's from the very late 1800s. We bought it around 3.5 or 4 years ago. It took us 2 years to go through the design process and the renovation process. And I wanted this entryway to be really dark and kind of envelop you. I found this incredible Art Deco alabaster light. This is a vintage bench that I found almost 10 years ago, and it's come with me to almost every one of my homes. Good boy. Good boy. And I was really excited to allow the stairwell to be seen, and I fell in love with these kind of classic stair details that spilled out. This is one of my favorite moments, likely because I sit here every morning when I have my coffee. Here we are in the living room on the parlor floor, and even though this space might feel a little bit formal, it actually is where we spend every morning together as a family. I love to collect pedestals. I think that they really add a beautiful vertical statement to a room. Precious little stool that everyone asks me about. It is Prouvé. I think it might be my favorite piece in my home. This is the original velvet upholstery, and it's this super pale pink. We're in the dining room now, and the dining table and chairs are actually a piece that we have had for almost 10 years. The dining table is Scandinavian vintage 50s, and the dining chairs are Niels Moller. It's Jacques Adnet, and it's 1930s or 1940s. When I found it from a dealer on 1st Dibs, it was a really deep, rich chocolate brown. So I had it shipped directly to a woodworker that I work with, and I asked him if he could strip it and sand it and bring it down to the raw oak material. So the kitchen is my sacred space. This is called Calicut Paonazzo, and I really love the strong veining and contrast in the marble. And this is a custom hood, and I just had it sprayed the same color as the plaster wall. I decided to go with Faro and Ball railings, and to have the design of the cabinetry almost be like a English country kitchen, but also feel modern. When we purchased the house, this was a solid wall with 2 small windows, and then this was also a solid wall with, I believe, 1 small window. So by knocking all of this out and creating these glass bifold doors that open up, it really expanded the kitchen and offered this indoor-outdoor living space. I really got to understand more about gardening and more about various textures, and it really feels like this kind of lush, wild, beautiful urban landscape. These 2 double doors were my starting point when I was designing this space. I found these 2 table lamps. They are French 80s from Georges Pelletier, And what I love about them is the scale. They're kind of this large, supersized scale. My bathtub is actually from a company in the UK called Water Monopoly, and I love the classic form. So I'll take you guys up to the third floor of the house where our family room is, where Jeevon's bedroom is, and where my office is. This is the space where I create. I had a really hard time finding pin-up boards for me to pin up all of my inspiration when I'm working on a project. So what I did actually was I got Homosote from the Home Depot and I just wrapped them with inexpensive burlap and then painted over the burlap the same color as the wall. When I designed this space for Jeevon, he basically shared that he wanted a very modern room. So I kind of went with this Scandinavian built-in theme. And he has this platform that is all built out of plywood, and beneath here there's a trundle bed that pulls out. This is a photograph that Jeevon took, but I also wanted something that he created to be a part of his space. So this was a photo that he took in art class at school, and I had it blown up and framed. Here we are in our family room, and it's one of our favorite spaces to gather. And what's really interesting about this space is initially I thought that it was going to be light and bright like the rest of the home. And I decided to take this risk and paint everything in this like beautiful dark navy plaster and also wrap it onto the ceiling so it really kind of feels cocoon-like. My favorite piece is this sofa, which is by my dear friend Giancarlo Valle, and he had a chair that was very similar called the Smile Chair, and I kind of was like, do you think that maybe you can make a sofa version? And now it's called the Athena sofa, so I guess it was a success. I just wanted to say thank you for following along. It was super fun to take you through the whole house and share a lot of my design choices that I made along the way. Thanks for watching, and signing off. Bye.
I really enjoyed today's design chat between AD's own West Coast editor, Mayor Russ, and the interior designer, Michael Smith, who is based in California also. Michael Smith is the longtime collaborator for interior design with the Obama family. Now with his collaborator and writer, Margaret Russell, former editor-in-chief of Architectural Digest, produced a wonderful book. It is called Designing History, the Extraordinary Art and Style of the Obama White House. I cannot wait to see this book and to relive some of the pictures that were in AD and so much more about his work there for that family. Enjoy this episode, and I hope, like me, you'll pick up a copy of the book.
Hello, I'm Mayor Russ, the West Coast editor of Architectural Digest. Today I am thrilled to have as my guest Michael Smith, to talk about the release of his new book, Designing History, the Extraordinary Art and Style of the Obama White House, written with the inimitable Margaret Russell with a foreword by First Lady Michelle Obama. Michael, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Mayor. It's so good to see you always.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you connected with President and Mrs. Obama, how you landed the job?
I have a great friend in Chicago called Catherine Malkin, who I was on the phone with and talking about what I thought the White House under Obama should be. So I'm on the beach in Jamaica, get a phone call, and it was Desiree Rogers, who was a dear friend of the Obamas and had been hired to be the first social secretary for the Obama administration. And she said, listen, we want to talk to you about doing the White House. And it was by luck because Desiree lived in the same building, she still does, in Chicago, with Catherine Malkin and her husband. And she had dropped off some books and a note, which is in the book. And it had made its way through a series of events to the Obamas. We all know when we do what we do. I didn't have the job until I went to Chicago and I met with them.
Can you tell me sort of logistically what phase one looked like? How do you do a client meeting with the most powerful couple in the world? How do you sort of tease out their taste while moving at hyper speed to get things done?
You know, you get this sort of Dora the Explorer-like kit of like plans of the White House and sort of glamorous photos of the White House, measurements of windows and things like that. I had never been upstairs in the White House until the day of move-in. I was really lucky because the Obamas had moved, in order for the girls to go to school, they'd moved to the Hay Adams across the street. And so I could go and meet with Mrs. Obama with my wares and show her things. The tone for both, two terms was that I had this idea of bringing contemporary paintings in, knowing that they would change the tone of the rooms, that they would be impactful, that they would be colorful, and that they would be something that the Obamas would be interested in because of their vast curiosity and their long interest in art.
Tell me how you immersed yourself in the history of the White House.
First, I really researched every single First Lady account and presidential account I could get my hands on. And then I also had this thing of being able to call Mrs. Reagan and ask her, kind of be like, where was the piano? When just kind of goofy stuff that was really helpful. Yes, I had Bill, who was like such a wealth of information. I mean, he basically had been in the office of the curator since the Carters. So he had this huge breadth of institutional knowledge.
Can you tell me what inspiration you gleaned from Mrs. Kennedy's work with Sister Parrish and Stéphane Baudin and Henry Francis DuPont?
The contents of the White House at the end of every administration were put up for public auction. So I never kind of understood why Mrs. Kennedy had to search out, a chair in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Basically, they would truly auction off everything. There was a committee for the preservation of the White House, which was started. There was a nonprofit, separate foundation, the White House Historical Association. There were all these things which were put into place, I think very parallel to Mrs. Obama's sort of idea, which is that it would not only just be America's house, but it would be representational of the best of America. And so I talk about it in the book of seeing the first beginnings of Hamilton, seeing Aretha Franklin perform at the White House, or seeing a Latin music evening, or seeing the kind of various artists that came in for receptions, contemporary American artists that came in. And all of that, I think, is very much a kind of template very much started by Mrs. Kennedy.
One of the accomplishments of the Obamas was to bring in an Alma Thomas, which was the first African-American woman to be represented in the permanent collection. Can you tell me a little bit about that process?
All the rules are very much formulated so that the White House does not monetize artists or collections. It's advised that the artist has to be deceased for 25 years or more. I mean, it's like this really funny series of things, but you can imagine in certain periods of the White House saying, a donor or a member of Congress saying, my daughter, my son, my wife is a painter. Would can you have a piece in the White House? So there was a lot of sort of very specific rules, which clearly are very targeted to prevent the White House being used to increase somebody's value. In the course of looking at all this work at the National Gallery, something really jumped out at me. I later was told was the work by Alma Thomas. She was a very prominent art teacher in Washington and had taught a lot of students who sort of their careers kind of came up after her. Committee and the White House Historical Association funded the purchase of the piece. Such an appropriate legacy piece because every one of us had such a real love and commitment to her work.
Are you at liberty to discuss your ongoing work with the Obamas after they left the White House?
One of the great sort of gifts out of this whole experience is my continued working for them and doing things like, the House in Washington, I guess podcast or webcast of President Obama and Vice President Biden sitting, having a discussion recently in the lobby, the sort of reception area of the Obama's offices. And it was so great for me because I sort of pulled it together for them, I sort of did it for them, but also you see all this furniture that was in the White House. So that kind of stuff, to sort of take things that they purchased for the White House that were part of that moment, see them reused and move forward in what will be almost a complete lifetime in history. That's what's so great.
The book is Designing History, the Extraordinary Art and Style of the Obama White House. It is a beacon of light amid the miasma of 2020, and I was thrilled to read it. Thank you very much, Michael, for joining me.
Thanks, Mayor. Always wonderful to have any kind of conversation with you.
Thank you so much for watching episode 13 of AD Visits with us today. I hope you'll be back to join me and Bear next week for more.